Well, Joey, in this video we're going to model this toy building block. We could reuse other designs and modify them to get this design, but this is actually a really nice model to model from scratch, and we can look at modeling strategies to kind of do this efficiently. So let's just do it from scratch for practice. It's very easy to jump into modeling a part, but sometimes it's a good idea to just stop, have a little think, decide which view you can capture the most information with the least work. There isn't always a right answer to this, but it's always worthwhile spending a minute just to have a little think about it. And for me, I think the most efficient way I can capture the most information in a single sketch is looking at the side view of the part. So I'm going to start off there. So I'm going to create an extrude, choose the right plane, and I'm going to create rectangle by 2 points. And starting from the plane here, I just created a rectangle. So I'm going to add dimensions to that. We're going to make it 15.8 long. I type in 15.8 and press enter. And auto scale has kept the proportions of our sketch but scaled it down. For the height, we're going to make it 9.6 millimeters. So enter 9.6. And we see that we have this sloped section of it. So I'm just going to draw a line. I'm hovering over this line. While it's highlighted, we have this coincident glyph beside our cursor. So I'm just going to click, and the same for the horizontal line, we have the coincident glyph. So I click there, and we've gone into the line command again. So I'm just going to right click to exit the line command. And I'm just going to trim the corners off this so that we're using the trim command. I go over here and I just left click, and just as I'm holding down the mouse button, I move over the lines I don't want. So I'm still holding the mouse button, making this continuous line across the lines. So I've crossed over everything I don't want. So I just release the mouse button and they're gone. All right, so we'll notice actually Solid Edge has reattached the dimension here. So I'm just going to use a smart dimension there. And now that has captured the 9.6 length. So I just press enter. And this dimension should be 1.6 millimeters. So I press 1.6, just click on it and press 1.6. That's updated. And we also want an angle dimension. So I click on this inclined line and the base, and I'm going to enter 45 degrees for that line. So I press 45 and enter. That's updated. And I'm going to use the connect relationship between the end of this line and the origin. Now our sketch is fully constrained. So I can click on this box to exit the sketch command, and you can see now that we're using the one-sided extent. I'm going to change that to symmetric extent just to keep the part symmetrical about the origin. We're going to use a finite extent, and I'm just going to type in 7.8 millimeters and press enter. Now, okay, so I'm just going to actually click in the distance box, press 7.8 and press enter. And I'm not worrying about the name of the feature. I'm just going to click finish to exit the command. And you can see just in that extrusion, we have captured, a lot of the overall shape of our part. Grey is a little bit difficult to look at, so maybe we'll just color it in. I do like my coloring in. So in the Pathfinder, I'm going to click on this little button here and open the style palette. I'm going to select body, current styles, replace. So I search for red. Press enter. There we go. And I'm just going to drag this onto our part. That looks fine. I'm going to hide the base reference plane. And maybe next we could create the pegs on the part. So I click on extrude, click on the top face of our part. I'm going to create a circle. And we want to position that circle using smart dimensions. So we're going to use 3.9 here. Press enter. And 3.9 from the other face. Press enter. And we want to give the circle a diameter of 4.8 millimeters. So 4.8 and press enter. And now that sketch is fully constrained. So I'm going to click on this tick box to exit the sketch. And looking at our extrude command here, we're in an automatic extrude operation. We could also just change it to add. It doesn't really matter in this situation. And Solid Edge has said in the symmetric extent, we don't really need a symmetric extent anymore. In fact, actually it's given us a problem here because Solid Edge is detecting material underneath half of it, so it's automatically gone into a cut operation. but if we change it to a finite extent, if I go down, it's cut, and then if I go up from the face, it adds. So we're going up from the face, and I just type in 1.7 millimeters into our distance box and press enter. And you can see that it's actually not finished, and that's because Solid Edge is still waiting for a direction. And we can look in the prompt bar, select the side for the feature. So I don't want to go down, we want to go up. So I move the cursor above the face that our sketch is on. See the preview, that looks right, and I just click to accept that direction. And Solid Edge is looking for a name for the feature. Doesn't really matter so much in this one. Maybe we'll just call it Parent Peg and click Finish. All right, so we could manually create another peg here, or we could pattern it. So maybe let's pattern it. We've kind of done a few patterns lately, and hopefully you're getting used to them now. So we're using a rectangular pattern, placement type by sketch, and selection type feature. Looking at the prompt bar, click on a feature. So we want to feature this peg, and I'm just going to tick this box to finish selecting features. And our prompt is saying create from coincident plane, and our prompt bar is saying click on a planar face or reference plane. So I click on the top face of the part, and now we're going to draw a sketch to define our pattern. Looking up here, click for the first point. So the first point we're going to create from the parent feature, and the center of our peg is a nice place to start. So I'm going to click on that. If we were creating a pattern that could be maybe 2x2 or 3x3 or whatever, we'd be worried about the width of this. I'm not too worried about it at the moment. So I'm just going to just click arbitrarily, and that is kind of the starting point for our pattern. So we want the distance from this face of our peg to our first peg. We want the same to be on the other side from this face to a peg here. So we're just going to capture that with the dimension here. I'm going to click on that face, click on that face. So 3.9 millimeters to the center of the first peg. So we want the center of the last peg in our pattern to also be 3.9 millimeters. So I type that in here, and that's constrained. Yeah, as I say, I don't think we're going to be creating more pegs in this direction. Not at the moment anyways, it's not something I'm thinking about. I might just arbitrarily just put in a width at 3.9, and if we create a pattern at a later date, I can always update that dimension and make it work for us. So now our sketch defining our pattern is fully constrained, so I can click on the close sketch button up here, and now we've gone into preview the pattern. It's actually, I made a mistake on the number of elements, so I'm actually going to click back at the draw profile, and I'm just going to change that while we're in here. So I'm going to change the X value to 1 and the Y value, I'm going to change the Y value to 2 and the X value to 1. The reason why we got an error there when I changed the X value to 1 first was because it was showing up a pattern of X1, Y1. And the problem with that is it isn't actually a pattern, because if we had a pattern of 1 by 1, that would just be the parent feature. There'd be no extra items created. So Solid Edge prefers to have more than one element in the pattern. So that all looks good. So I'm just going to click on this tick box to exit out of the pattern command, and it's looking for a name of the pattern. I can just call it peg pattern and click on the finish button. That's kind of a good start. We could create the cutout maybe on the underside of our part next. So let's have a look at that. So we could create an extrude again, or we could sketch first. Doesn't really matter an awful lot. For a change, I'm just going to sketch first. So I'm going to click on sketch, click on this face of our part as the sketch plane, and I'm going to select the project from sketch command, and I'm going to choose project with offset and click OK. For the offset distance, I'm going to choose 1.6 and press enter, and click on this face of our part and click accept. And now it's looking for the side for the offset. So if I move inside the outline, you can see the arrow here showing it would be offset inside. If I move outside from this arrow, it offsets outside. So we want it inside the perimeter of our part, and click. And now we have a fully defined sketch. I could click on that button to exit the sketch, But while we're in here, let's also do something else. So I'm just going to change our options for project to sketch. I'm going to deselect project with offset and click OK. And I'm going to choose create as construction. And I'm going to choose the top peg of our part, project it down to this sketch plane and click accept. And I'm going to draw another circle, exit, create as construction. And we could hover over and draw on the center of that circle, or if we didn't, we could just click here and draw our circle, and we could manually add this relationship of concentric between these two circles. And I'm going to make the diameter of that circle 1.6 millimeters and press enter and tick on this button to exit the sketch. I'm going to click finish and cancel. So we've kind of captured two things in this sketch. Now I'm going to click on extrude and create from, instead of coincident plane, I'm going to choose select from sketch, and the selection type is chain. So let's just click on this square here, click on the tick box, and now you can see it's, because we're in automatic extrude, it's adding if we go above and taking away if we go below. I'm going to just explicitly choose cut, and I'm going to choose from to extent. And for the from face, I'm going to choose the bottom face of our part. Our prompt bar is saying select to surface, or right click to extrude to profile plane. Before we select a to surface, I'm going to select an offset for the to surface, and I'm going to choose an offset of 1.6 millimeters. And then I'm going to choose select to surface, and I'm going to choose the top face of our part. And we do get a preview, and it looks a little bit wrong. It's showing that it's cut right through the top of our part, but I'm hoping our offset will help us here. In our prompt bar, it's saying select the side for the offset. So if we choose this side, it's obviously going to cut right through. If we choose down below, hopefully it will stop short of cutting through the part. So I click, and yeah, our extrusion seems to have worked okay. It's cut right into the part, but it's stopped 1.6 millimeters short of the top of face of our part. So I'm just going to click finish, and we've gone into extrude again. And let's actually make use of that. So this time we're still in select from sketch because that's what we used the last time. This time I'm going to choose that little circle we created and tick this little box. And our extent again is one-sided extent, and we stay in the from to extent, which is good. So for the from surface, it doesn't matter a whole lot because we're cutting through. If we just select this bottom face, that's fine. It's just going to cut through air until it gets where we want it. Before we select the to surface, I want to choose an offset. So I'm going to choose an offset of 1.7 millimeters. And now I'm going to click on the to surface. I'm going to go down here and choose the top face of the cutout we just did. Okay. And now looking at the prompt bar, select the side for the offset. So we're getting a warning at the moment saying part not modified, edit the feature inputs, but the direction of the offset is down. But if I point that to up and click, and I'm just going to click finish, and let's take a look now. I'm going to exit out of the extrude command, and let's take a look at the cross section. So I'm going to show the base reference planes, click on our right plane, go to PMI and section by plane, and tick this box and click finish. And now if we look at our part, you can see here's the first cutout we did, and here's the second one, cutting out from this face up. So that distance should be, if I create a PMI dimension, the distance from this face to this face is 1.7 millimeters. The distance from the top face to this face is 1.6 millimeters. And that's the two offsets we created. Okay, so let's close the PMI, hide our section view, and keep trucking. Next, maybe we could create the cutout for our part. So let's see what we can do there. I'm going to draw a sketch. So if I go to home, sketch, click on the top face of our part, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle roughly where we want it. And I'm going to use project to sketch, and I'm going to click on the top face of our peg here and accept that. And I click select, and let's maybe move these lines inside the outline of our part. use a smart dimension to offset from the outside of our part. Oh, I got that wrong. Let's just undo that. I'm going to create a smart dimension from, actually need to delete that. So let's press select, click on that dimension and delete it. Okay, so I use a smart dimension from this line to this face, and I'm going to make that 1 millimeters. On the other side, do the same, and that's 1 millimeters. Let's actually change that red. You think I'd know by now not to use red. We'll change it to yellow. We'll just drag that onto our part. Well, it won't because we're sketching. Okay, so let me just close the sketch actually. Click finish, cancel, and now we can just drag the colour onto our part. Now we'll go back to the sketch and choose edit profile, and we're back, and it's a little easier to see. So I'm going to use another smart dimension here, and we want to go 1.4 millimeters. Type in 1.4 and press enter. And from the end of our part, it's 7.8 millimeters. So we can go choose from the end to here, type 7.8 and press enter. Now our sketch is fully constrained. So I can choose close sketch and finish. Okay. And what we want to do, we want to cut out there, but this isn't really a normal cut. We want to cut, but we want the cut to fall short of this face. We want to offset it by 1.4 millimeters. And there's a couple of ways we could do that. There's only really one way we could do it, because in the last video I promised you that we would use split body. So let's do that. I go to home, choose more planes and parallel, and I'm going to choose this face, and I'm going to, for the distance here, I type in 1.4 and hit enter. And now we want to select which side of our face we want to offset. So I click in to offset into the part. That looks good. And it looks like our plane doesn't fully intersect the part, but it does, because a plane is always infinite length, infinite size. And it's still saying up in our prompt bar, click on a planar face or reference plane. We don't need to do any more. One is enough for us. So I'm just going to click select. And I'm going to go to up here. We're looking at body operations here. So I'm going to choose the drop down menu and choose split. And our prompt bar is saying select the target bodies for the Boolean. So our target body is our part. And now select the tool bodies for the Boolean. Our tool body is that plane. So I can hover over it, or I could choose it from the pathfinder. So I just click. And now we kind of have a yellow part and a blue part. They might show opposite colours for you. They're both equally important. So I'm just going to click on this button to exit tool selection and choose finish. And if we look at our part now, one of them is kind of see-through and one of them is kind of solid. And that's our two bodies now. We have two bodies. And if we look at our pathfinder, we have our design body 1, design body 2. And anything we do now will only work on the active body. And the active body is showing with a solid colour, whereas the inactive body is showing with a kind of an outline. So at the moment, our active body is this part now that I've highlighted green, and our inactive body is orange highlighted. But it could be the other way around for you, but I actually want this body to be active. So I click on it in the pathfinder and choose activate body. And now things have flipped. So now this body is solid and this other body is kind of semi-transparent, which is what we want. This is the body we want to edit. Okay, so now let's look at cutting out our feature. So I can go to extrude and I'm going to choose cut. And we're using select from sketch as we had before, selection type chain. So I'm going to choose both of these outlines here and tick. And now for our extent, I'm going to choose true all, and we have click to select the sides in our prompt bar. So up doesn't cut anything, or down. If we look at that, we can see the preview there. And this should cut through all of the part, but because we have multiple bodies, it only cuts through all of the active body. So I click finish here and cancel. And you can see now that it is cut down through all of design body 2, but it hasn't touched design body 1. And maybe the best way to look at that is with a section view. So if I choose the right view, PMI, section by plane, and if we take a look now, I'm just going to tick that box and finish. If we take a look now, we can see our sectioned cut. So it's cut all the way through this body, design body 2, but it hasn't affected design body 1 at all. Okay, that looks good. And we could do things, but while we have our bodies split, let's take advantage of that. So we also want to create a thin wall in this peg. So we want to hollow out this peg here. And to do that, we're going to use the thin wall command. So I click on that, and the common thickness or the offset value, I'm going to use 1mm, press tab, and now it's saying click on a face chain. So if I click on the top face of this part, let's take a look at what that does. So I can click here and preview and finish. Okay, so that has hollowed out our part. And if we look at, I go to the PMI tab. Oh, I don't even need to go to the PMI tab. We've already created a section view. So I just turn on our section view. And if we look at our part now, you can see this hollowed out peg. The thin wall has hollowed it out. Let me just for a second hide design body 1 and show design body 2. So design body 2, it's hollowed out the inside here, but then it has stopped short of the bottom of design body 2 and offset that by a distance of 1mm. All right, so that isn't right. We actually want this face to be on the same plane as this face here. So it's 1mm above it now. So I'm going to click on the thin wall, click on edit definition. I'm going to click on the open faces step. Instead of just that face, I'm going to choose the bottom face of it as well. Maybe I'll just hide again design body 1. And if I click on this face here, tick this box, preview, and now we see our thin wall is cut right through this design body. And I click finish. That looks good. And if we show design body 1 again, we can see that that is now on the same plane, which is exactly what we want. And what we can do now is we can join those two bodies again. So we've split the two bodies. We've done what we can now. It was kind of made life a lot easy for us to do those extrudes. We could extrude through the body. Now we can join those two bodies back together. It saves us a lot of time. So I'm going to click on this drop down again, and I'm going to choose union. So this is another Boolean operation, and I'm going to choose the target step of this body and then the tool step of design body 1. So click on that. And if I tick that little box and click finish, click cancel, now those two design bodies have been merged into the same body, and we can see there's only design body 2 now on our Pathfinder. And if we hide our section view, our part looks pretty close to what we're looking for. One thing, there's a couple of sketches there. You can see a kind of a blue haziness there. That's because there's sketches there defining regions. So I'm just going to hide those sketches. That makes it a little clearer. All right, that looks better. So we just want to create a rectangle here. So I'm going to choose the extrude command, click on, and we're not going to select from sketch because I didn't define in a sketch. So I'm going to choose coincident plane. I'm going to choose the top face of our part. Now we've gone to the sketch part. We're drawing our profile for the sketch. So I'm going to go up here and choose a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rough rectangle, and I'm going to use project to sketch again and select OK. And I'm going to choose create as construction and just click on this top face and click accept. That looks good. So we just kind of want to relate this sketch to our projected sketch. So I'm going to create a collinear relationship between this line and this line. And we don't really need to worry too much about the distance of this line as long as it's wide enough that we don't fall short of our part. So we know this line here needs to be 3.2 millimeters. So I can type that in, and we want this rectangle to be symmetrical on the part. So I suppose we could also create a vertical relationship, use the horizontal vertical, hover over a line, hover over the center mark until the midpoint glyph appears and click. And I'm just going to hover over the circle until the circle center mark glyph appears and click there. Now those two have been related. And yeah, our line here has fallen a little bit short of our circle. I want to extend it up a little bit more. And I'm just actually going to manually do that because it won't make a whole lot of difference later on. Okay, so there we go. Now we know we're not going to fall short of our circle. So I'm going to use Smart Dimension. Let me just undo that. I'm going to use Smart Dimension, click on this line, and yeah, 0.87 is fine, 1 millimeter is fine, doesn't really matter. So there's our rectangle defined. I'm going to tick this box to exit out of that. And now we're in the extrude. We're going to the extent part of the extrude command. We don't want an automatic operation. I'm going to choose add just to make it simpler. And we're going to go to true next. Okay. We have a little bit of a, so if we're pointing up, there's no next so we get an error. But if we point down, you see a preview of the extrusion. So I click when it's pointing down and click finish and click cancel. Okay. So there's our extrusion, and we're just going to radius those corners. We can go to home and round, and I'm going to type in a radius of 0.5 and click tab and choose the edges we want to radius. So here, 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 and we don't necessarily have to rotate either. Solid Edge will actually look through the part and pick up on it. So I know there's a corner here, an edge here, so I can look through it. We get an orange preview and I can just click through it. That's selected too. So I can tick on this box to accept that, tick preview and tick finish. Okay, that all looks good, and that is our part. Hopefully you followed along and you have your own little block now, Joy. In our next video, we'll be modelling this 2x1 block with a counterbore hole. Hopefully see you then, Joy.